I wasn't plugged in. Can you hear me now? I was just waiting for a few more people to join. You couldn't hear me. I wasn't plugged in. Hey guys, so right before I went on, has anyone heard about this Superior, Colorado, these fires that are happening? This is wild. One of these fires, these fires started in Colorado in Boulder County, and they were spreading so fast. All of these towns just had to evacuate. Happy New Year's. Oh, yes, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Am I all good? Okay. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. I'm so excited. I am okay with this year being over. I will say that. I'm very much okay with it being over and not being 2021 anymore. I haven't. Oh, so these wildfires broke out in Colorado and they were spreading so rapidly that several towns had to completely evacuate. I'm watching a news clip. I have this screenshot of a news clip up right now. Their local news, Fox 31, and it says at least 550 homes lost already. That is why I used to live in Colorado, so I know exactly where this is. And I don't know how they started, but that's pretty crazy. I've never heard of a forest fire that bad, at least when I lived in Colorado. That's how I knew about forest management and how important that is. Because I remember being at a national park and they would talk to us about how controlled fires and getting all the dead trees out of there. Yeah, that's a lot. How important that is, and how not having forests that are too saturated with trees, how that's bad because it makes the fires spread a lot quicker. So that is pretty crazy. 550 homes. Yikes. Okay, I will wait. Let's see, what time is it? 8:32. I'll wait just another minute to get started to see if anyone else comes in. I was going to talk about CNN. A second producer has resigned. Well, the first one was fired. This one resigned and now has criminal charges against him. So I'm going to talk about that. It's pretty wild, and there's some really disturbing similarities between two of these producers and what they did. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about UPenn for a second, and then NASCAR. Talk about NASCAR. And then if you have any other questions or want to talk about anything else, we can. But I was talking about this fire because right before I hit the live button, I saw updates from this insane fire in Colorado. Yep, controlled burning fuel, and that builds up over decades. There is also something else really interesting that I learned. So there was a bird that is endangered in California, or an eagle. What is it? No, it's not golden eagles, bald eagles. I can't remember. It was either a type of eagle or a type of bird that is that's endangered in California, and it's been endangered for a while. And there was one area in California, I think it's privately owned, and they were doing these controlled burns and making sure their forest didn't have too many trees. And they actually saw the population of this particular bird. I want to say it's a type of eagle. Of this eagle, they actually saw the population of this eagle thrive in this area. And the reason for that is quite simple. It's pretty crazy that you didn't think of this before, but the reason for that is when the forest wasn't so thick, the eagle could actually see its food down below the tree line and go and get his food, which caused them to not go extinct and procreate and have more eagles. What type of eagle was it? Definitely not a bald eagle. They are all over the country. Yeah, it's not a bald eagle. I can't remember the name of it. Now this is going to bother me. The Sarah Show. What bird is it? Types of eagles in Southern California. No, it's not a bald eagle. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. Evening streams are better, not busy. Okay, cool. I like the evening streams better. It's not the golden eagle. Darn it. This is going to drive me crazy. Condor, no. Bird that is endangered in California. CNN is now criminal nonsense. White pelican, nope. What are the 5 endangered species in California? I can't find it. This is really going to bother me. Someone give Biden the bird again. Someone gave oh, they did? I didn't know. Okay, well, let's start talking about CNN. So yesterday, no, it's not a falcon. Wait a second. I don't know. No, it's not one of those. If I hear it, I'll know what it is. Birds in California. This is really going to bother me. Eagles and hawks are cool. California quail. Finch, California thrasher. Brown pelican, no. California condor, no. Black-winged blackbird. Owl, no. I don't know what it is, you guys. I can't find it. Jailbird? Is that a real bird? It's not a condor. Buzzard? Have you ever seen a turkey buzzard? I don't know. I'm going to have to, as soon as this stream is done, I'm going to look it up and I will put it on, I'll put it on the community tab because I can't find it. Oh well. But anyway, they were thriving in this area because they could actually see their food. That's below the tree line. The buzzard Biden. Okay, so CNN. Let me find that tab. Yeah, so this is the second CNN producer that is now having an investigation. So this producer, if you know how this started, this started with Project Veritas. And I don't know if a lot of you know this, but Project Veritas was actually very implemental in exposing the Epstein media corruption. So there was a video that Project Veritas released, and it was of a reporter, and she was basically ranting about how she had been, and this was years ago, she was ranting about how she had been investigating this Epstein story for a long time. She had all this information. She had victim testimony or alleged victim testimony. Well, now we know that they are. She had victim testimony, all of this stuff, and was ready to go, was ready to break this story, and she was told not to. And Project Veritas released that video exposing the media corruption in all of this and sort of how the media tried to cover this up. So a lot of people don't remember that, but they were very implemental in that case as well. Some of their videos that come out, I don't feel like they are as exposy as some of them they're led up to be, but they do a lot of really important work, and they've gotten a lot of people held accountable for their actions. And this is another important thing that they did. So a few weeks ago, Project Veritas released this video, and it was a woman who had a friend, one of her friends worked for CNN, was a CNN producer, and he had been sending her some very disturbing messages regarding his fiance's 14-year-old little girl, and also was soliciting her, his friend, and her daughter together, and was asking for things and saying things, a lot of really disturbing stuff. And she kept him talking, I assume to get evidence out of him, even got him on a voicemail saying some just really disturbing, explicit things about his fiance's daughter. And it's really disturbing, really gross. So this came out, and at first Project Veritas didn't say the name of the producer because they wanted to protect his fiance and the little girl. So they made sure that they were okay and that they knew about this before they ever exposed the name of the producer. So at first we didn't know who it was, but we did know that he worked at CNN and he was a producer. The mom actually wrote Project Veritas and thanked them for their work and for making sure that they were safe. And she really appreciated this information coming out and that they were away from this individual and they were safe. So the mom was very appreciative. Once they were away and they were safe, Project Veritas then released the name of the producer. And yesterday the producer resigned, and today we found out that there is in fact a criminal investigation around him, and the authorities have seized stuff from his house. So I'll read you, let's see. The investigation, let's see, let me go from the beginning. So the investigation into Salaby, so his name was Rick Salaby, appears to be tied to reporting by the conservative. Okay, so we just talked about that. The charges, oh, that's Mr. Griffin. Okay, so he does have a criminal investigation right now, and they have seized materials, I think, from some of his stuff that he had at CNN, and also some personal things at home, like computers, electronics, things like that. So they're investigating him right now, and we'll see what happens. But what's really odd about this is this is the second producer. The first producer, what was his name? Is it John Griffin? Yeah, the first producer, John Griffin, was actually fired after he had charges involving enticing minors for activities. And the creepy thing was, a very strange similarity between them is they seem to both solicit, well, this one was monetarily soliciting moms and daughters at the same time, and was teaching things to young people, essentially like grooming them, which is just so disgusting. That's what's really odd, because both of these involve a mom and daughter, which brings this to just a whole nother disturbing layer. But this guy also has, well, this isn't even an investigation. He does have criminal charges on him, John Griffin. So Griffin was charged by a grand jury in Vermont with 3 counts of using a facility of interstate commerce to attempt to entice minors to engage in unlawful activity. He offered a woman $30,000 for a mother-daughter weekend and told authorities that he was ashamed when he was taken into custody after allegedly doing things that involved a 9-year-old girl and enticing other minors. According to the indictment from April to July of 2020, now this isn't Rick Salaby. Rick Salaby is being investigated right now, and he's the one that just resigned from CNN. This is the first guy who was fired just a few months ago and was indicted by a grand jury on these charges. So this is the first guy. According to the indictment from April to July of 2020, Griffin utilized the messaging applications Kik and Google Hangouts to communicate with people purporting to be parents of minor daughters, conveying to them, among other ideas, that a woman is a woman regardless of her age. Keep that phrase in mind, because I've heard this a few times. A woman is a woman regardless of her age, and that's really creepy. And just make sure you remember that, because I've heard this from adult individuals before, and to me, that is an indicator of something disturbing going on in that person's head. and that women should be subservient and inferior to men in a manner. So that's CNN. So he would entice mothers and daughters to come with him for weekends. He would pay them money, and he would essentially do grooming activities and things like that. And so these are two producers at CNN, which these could just be two producers that are, CNN knew nothing about. They know nothing about each other, but there's something going on. And then you have Chris Cuomo, who left because of his reporting over his brother, and also because of allegations that he had against him. So there's a lot going on over there. Nothing new in the ruling. Nothing new in the ruling. Maybe I wasn't in that conversation. Yeah, it says Cuomo was also fired this month after CNN learned of a former colleague at another network who came forward with misconduct allegations against the network's star anchor. Cuomo had already been suspended for aiding his brother, ousted New York Governor Andrew Cuomo amid the Democrats' own harassment scandal. I mean, geez. They did reach out to Rick Salaby's. What the heck is wrong with those Cuomos? I think. Okay, here's Rick Salaby. So this is the guy who just resigned yesterday. Fairfax County Police Department confirmed Fox News Digital on a criminal investigation that has been launched into Rick Salaby into serious allegations involving potential juvenile victims, and detectives assigned to the Child Exploitation Squad of Major Crimes Bureau are leading this investigation into Rick Salaby, a former senior producer for Jake Tapper's The Lead. While we will eventually be transparent about our findings, safeguarding the personal privacy and safety of our victims and witnesses, as well as maintaining the integrity of our criminal investigation, are of paramount importance. So there's still a lot that we don't know. There could be a lot more going on with this guy, where whenever you find a rat, there's typically a lot more rats going on or crawling around eating cheese. I don't know. It's not the golden eagle. What is it? Shoot. Hold on. Bird making a comeback. No, it's not the California condor. I wonder if any CNN people were in the Epstein logbook. Yeah, and we still don't know who was in that logbook. I saw a tweet earlier today that said, Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty of trafficking, but who is she trafficking to? We don't know. They did a really good job. They did a really good job of keeping that under. Nothing really crazy. It came out, in my opinion, with that whole. They kept a lot of names under the radar with that entire trial. There's 10 species in California that are classified as endangered. White-tailed kite. No, hold on. Now I'm gonna have to find this video where I was actually watching an entire video on the wildfires situation in California. It was the Epic Times California, and it was like a 30-minute video on the wildfires in California and why they're happening, why they're so bad right now, and that's what they were talking about. They were talking about this area where they do what they're... Where is it? Epic Times, California. I was watching it on YouTube. No, you have 2 channels now. Okay, here it is. Nope. But it's a 30-minute video. There's no way I'm going to find it. They have a YouTube channel, the Epic Time, but it's all about like California stuff. But it's a really good YouTube channel. It's very informative. I actually watched a video earlier today on Proposition 47. Doesn't that sound exciting? Preventable wildfires. Okay. The FBI lost a whole bunch of evidence. For Ghislaine Maxwell. A man-child. I was watching a... What is this bird?
We don't often get the ability to manage forests properly.
I got here, but they burn it every year for tax. I just got here, but they burn it every year for tax funds. Best paper.
There's a place called Shaver Lake above Fresno, and they have a very similar ecosystem to Lake Arrowhead in the San Bernardino Mountains. And Edison owns a bunch of acreage up there, and they have what they call a demonstration forest. And for decades, they have been doing prescribed burns up there and managing the land.
Can you hear it? She's about to say what bird it is. It's not named Twitter.
Goats, they eat all the brush, and they're doing everything right. And last year, they had the Creek Fire up there. I don't know if you heard about the Creek Fire. 300,000 acres of devastation. But the Shaver Lake area was pretty much untouched. The fire didn't get into the community and go all the way to the lake because they had been managing the forest for decades. But what they've also found is that the bald eagle is coming back. Oh. The spotted owl is coming back.
Spotted owl.
And it's such an easy thing to see when you work on the ground with these people that it's because they can see their food now. When there's too many trees, the branches cover the eyesight down to the forest floor, and they can no longer grab a mouse or a rat or whatever it is that they eat, a lizard, because they can't see the forest floor. So now that they do this controlled burn over the last, 2 or 3 decades, that population of endangered species is flourishing up there, having tons of little eaglets and little owls, and they're thriving because of the controlled burn and forest management practices that they have at Shaver Lake. You can go visit it.
Now, do you think, based on what you've seen, and it seems like there's some level of
It was the bald eagle and the spotted owl. I didn't know that eagle babies were called eaglets. That's really cute. But anyway, if you want to watch this, it's on California Insider. I'll try to put the link up later. But this was actually... It's BS because birds have great eyesight and live in trees. No, but this lady, what is she? She was the former deputy director of the National Forest Association. And she's very smart. Baby eagles. No, eaglets are way better. Well, since we're talking about... Okay, now I'll go back to CNN. Now that I know what that was. I don't know why I forgot it was the bald eagle. I guess the bald eagle is flourishing in that area. Thriving. And the spotted owl. I knew it was a spotted something. I thought this was really funny, and since we were talking about CNN, Brian Stelter was interviewing. What is her name? I'm really bad at pronouncing her name. Mara Schiavocampo. Mara Schiavocampo. I think that's how you pronounce her name. So he was interviewing her on his show, Reliable Sources, which is really funny that his show is named Reliable Sources. Just saying. And they were talking about misconceptions with media and journalism. And they were talking about how one of the biggest misconceptions is that CNN lies. So let's look at what they say. This is pretty funny. Sarah's a secret PETA supporter. I heard PETA is not that very, very good of an organization. Brian Stelter is bald, but not an eagle. No, he's a potato. He's not an eagle. He's a potato. Okay, so CNN has warned their loyal viewers that the greatest misconception about mainstream media is that they're lying and that they have political bias. That's a misconception, people. Stop gaslighting me. The single biggest misconception is that we're lying, said Mara Schiavocampo on Brian Stelter's Sunday show on CNN. The purpose of this segment was to tackle common myths about the mainstream media. There's a lot of media mistrust. You think? Maybe you're maybe you're wholly responsible for that. Schiavocampo was on reliable sources to answer media mailbag question, which actually ended up in Stelter for asking her a very general question about how journalism works. Stelter, who once willingly called himself a useful idiot. I'll have to look into that. I didn't realize that Stelter called himself a useful idiot once. He's a useful potato. Actually, he's not a useful potato. So they go into this conversation about what are the biggest media misconceptions. And so she says, the single biggest misconception is that we're lying, that there's a lot of mistrust. I hear this all the time, and here's what I would love to correct about that misperception. We're human. We make mistakes. So most often when someone says to me the media is lying and they point to an example, what they're pointing to is an example of a mistake, not an intentional lie. We do not have malicious intent. Most journalists, by and large, take great pride in getting things right. And it's tremendously shameful to make a mistake and then own up to it very quickly. So if you see a mistake, it's generally the result of human error. You're moving too fast, bad sources, too many cooks in the kitchen. Our intent is to get it right and to get it first. And when mistakes are made, it's actually very embarrassing. Ironically, on July 18th, 2021, Stelter had a guest on his show that told him the exact opposite. At the time, the author Michael Wolff, oh, this was so funny. The author Michael Wolff told Stelter he needed to stop being so repetitive and listen more. CNN as a network is going through... Okay, so this is interesting. Anyway, that's what she says. So she's saying that the lies are not actually lies. They're people just making honest mistakes. They seem to make a lot of mistakes. Not only do they make a lot of mistakes, but they repeat those mistakes over and over and over and over. I can go back to some Hall of Famers way back at the beginning of the Trump administration, the kids in cages. They lied about that. And let's talk about the kids in cages thing for just a second. So you remember those when Donald Trump took office and those kids in cages pictures came out and all the liberals were like, oh my God, the kids in the cages, like how could we do this? Well, those pictures were actually from 2014 under the Obama administration. And something interesting about that too, Glenn Beck didn't take those pictures, but Glenn Beck was one of the ones that was on the border during that time. And this to him was a really big story. So Glenn Beck, whoever took those pictures, they were trying to get any and every media outlet to pick this story up. No media outlet wanted the story about the kids in these facilities. No one wanted the story. Everyone turned down the story. All of a sudden, Trump gets in office. Not only do they take the story, but they misrepresent what was happening in 2014 to what is happening now. And they used those pictures that were actually under the Obama administration. So you're going to tell me that was a mistake, that they didn't know that, and they kept running with that narrative. They still run with that narrative. There was also the good people on both sides hoax. And this is why I stopped distrusting the media. It's their fault that I personally distrust a lot of legacy media. It's not my fault. And so the good people on both sides hoax. There was a speech that Donald Trump gave after Charlottesville. And he said that he condemned the white supremacists that were there. He condemned all of the bad actors that were there. And then he also said that there were also people that believed in keeping the statue up, and there were people that believed in taking it down, and those were peaceful people, and both of those people, there were good people on both sides. But they took that little, 10-second clip, and they ran it and ran it and ran it, and didn't look at the speech as a whole and misconstrued that whole thing to say that there were good people on both sides. to the extent that even Biden recently brought that up again, when it's been debunked, when we know, when we all have access to the full interview. So that's another thing that they lied about, and they kept that going. I think some of them are still keeping that going. I don't know about Brian Stelter and his show or anyone at CNN, but I've heard people in the media still talk about that, and that was another lie. So it's not just like they make a mistake. Making a mistake is getting a fact wrong or getting a day wrong or jumping on a story too quickly and getting the narrative wrong or getting the story wrong or not having all the information. That is making a mistake, and then correcting yourself, correcting the fact or correcting whatever it is you need to correct. That is making a mistake. But when you take the story that you know isn't true and say it over and over and over and over again, that is, many people would constitute as lying. Just saying. And many people on CNN have done that, to the point that even liberals think that CNN lies. Oh, and here's another thing too. They mentioned this in this article that I was reading right now. This is from the Post Millennial. But even so, there was this big merger that just happened with CNN, and the largest stakeholder in this merger actually wants to do an upheaval of CNN. He even said himself that CNN is not doing real journalism anymore, and he wants it to get back to having integrity and doing actual journalism. This is the largest stakeholder in this huge CNN merger. So even he says it. I just want to look really quick and see when Brian Stelter called himself a useful idiot. I need to see this. Oh, this was from a tweet. Oh, he didn't call himself a useful idiot. Fox News wrote a story about Brian Stelter a while back and called him a useful idiot. And Brian Stelter says, "I'm a useful idiot," Fox says, but I must be useful for page views. That was nothing. Sarah, you should apply for a producer job at CNN during the big shakeup. It would be interesting to see what they do, or if they do shake it up, or if they do fire people. But when that author was on, what was his name? Michael Wolff? Yeah, Michael Wolff. That was pretty funny. He called out Brian Stelter right on Brian Stelter's show. CNN's host Brian Stelter was surprised on Sunday on his own show. So this happened back in July of 2021. When author Michael Wolff attacked him for being one of the reasons people can't stand the media. See, this is a known thing. So Michael Wolff said, "I think the media has done a terrible job on this. I think you yourself, you're a nice guy. You're full of sanctimony. You become one of the parts of the problem of the media. You come on here and you have a monopoly on truth. You know exactly how things are supposed to be done. You are one of the reasons why people can't stand the media. I'm sorry." This is what Michael Wolff was saying right to Brian Stelter's face. And they continue to gaslight and try to do damage control and try to blame it on other people. Michael Wolff is on the left too. Exactly. That's what I'm saying too. Like, even lefties, even people on the left, they know what CNN is. They know that they lie. I follow left-leaning YouTubers also, and they like slam CNN all the time. Stelter, oh, I remember this too. So Stelter, like right after he said that, Stelter was like, "You're cracking me up." And Michael Wolff said, "It's your fault." So Stelter said, "So what should I do differently, Michael?" And Michael says, "Don't talk too much. Listen more. People have genuine problems with the media. The media doesn't get the story right. The media exists in its own bubble." And Stelter said, "That's true, I agree." And Wolf continued, You know, that last segment I had to listen to, all of the people saying the same old stuff. You're incredibly repetitive week after week. You're the flip side of Donald Trump fake news, and you say virtuous news." Wow. I forgot about this. He really let him have it. And Stelter interjected, "No, we just figure out what is real." And Michael said, "Well, figuring out what is real is not so easy. And most people don't want to turn to Brian Stelter to tell us what's real. I'm sorry." "Well, then, why did you bother coming on CNN a few times this past week?" replied Stelter. "I'm a book salesman," Wolf said. Oh, man, I forgot about that. I watched that too, but I totally forgot about that interview. I forgot how bad it was. If George Costanza worked for CNN, he would be Brian Stelter, but without the talent. Oh, I wanted to bring up The View. So somebody told me, somebody mentioned on here that The View was having a problem finding a conservative co-host, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because they don't really want a conservative co-host. They have stipulations. So they're looking for a co-host that, one, doesn't think that the election was borrowed, and two, isn't against mandates. So they basically want someone that's super liberal. And would you want to sit there? Actually, when they talk about other things, sometimes they're a little bearable when they're not talking about politics. But would you want to sit there with them for a whole show? It would be pretty funny, and I don't even think, I'm actually not a big fan of Meghan McCain didn't get fired, she quit. Someone just said the Babylon Bee said that they were. Oh, shoot. What did you say? An elephant pinata? They were filling that spot with an elephant pinata. Meghan McCain was very establishment and Lincoln Project, and they still didn't like her. Yes, she very much was. That's why I'm not a huge fan of Meghan McCain at all, really. But that's the type of Republican that they want. They want someone that looks like they're pushing back a little bit. Insiders told Politico that the search has taken quite a bit of time because the show needs someone to fulfill certain criteria. They refuse to entertain supporters of January 6th or anyone who denies the results of the 2020 election or associates with fringe conspiracy theories or the MAGA wing of the GOP. So I don't know what that means. Basically, they want someone liberal. And I don't know what, to them, everything is a conspiracy theory. And to be honest, I don't know who they want conservatives they can push around or isn't a Trump supporter. Yes. Was Meghan McCain a Trump supporter? That I don't know. Liz Cheney would fit The View. No, she wasn't. Okay. Like Russia collusion, biggest journalism. Oh yeah, and thank you, TNN. The whole Russian collusion thing that the media ran with forever, and they wonder, it's their. They refuse to look inward. It is their fault. No, she hated him. Okay, so that's why Meghan was on the show. Meghan McCain and her dad had major beef with Trump. Oh, I remember that now. Marjorie Green. I think Marjorie Green would be an excellent addition to The View. No, it still wasn't good enough. What they want doesn't exist. And they probably want somebody that's not going to push back too much because they are the type, well, I don't know, because they are very good at yapping. They're very good at yapping without saying much. So I've seen them in debates with like smart Republicans, but they will just talk over you and start calling you names and shut you down. And I can't stand those type of debates. I can't stand it. I like to see two adults both making their points and talking back and forth. Gina Carano would be one of my picks. She can take a Whoopi and Joy just by barking at them. She actually would be. I don't think that's something she would probably want to do, but she actually would be good, I think. And she has a very calm energy. They would also go to commercial break to shut you down. Okay, let's talk about UPenn really fast. There's almost nothing to talk about, but Sarah Palin might be fun. I have a feeling they really don't like Sarah Palin. Or has she ever been on the show? I don't know. Okay, UPenn. This is almost a nothing story. No sane person would put themselves through The View daily. Yes, that would make you insane quite fast. All right, so I want to talk about this UPenn thing for just a second. This is kind of a nothing thing, but this is exactly why we're in this situation in the first place. So it says the transgender swimmer Leah Thomas. So if you don't know what's going on at UPenn on the UPenn swim team, there is a swimmer by the name of Leah Thomas who used to be Will Thomas, who transitioned, who was swimming on the males team up until 2019 and was an elite swimmer, was a really good athlete. And then somewhere during the pandemic decided to start taking estrogen or testosterone suppressants and now swims for the women's team and is basically just dominating, breaking all these women's records. Won one swimming competition by 38 seconds, which is insane in the world of swimming and is causing a lot of controversy. So since all of this has happened, some of the swimmers on the women's team have come out and have anonymously spoken to news outlets like the Daily Mail and Outkick, which is a sports outlet. They've spoken to them anonymously. A group of parents have written a letter. Sorry, I just need something to drink. A group of parents have written a letter to the NCAA. And the reason this is allowed to happen is because according to the NCAA, their guidelines are only that in order to be a biological male and compete in women's sports, you only have to take testosterone suppressants for, yes, someone resigned too. I'll get to that in just a second. You only have to take testosterone suppressants for a year. That is the only requirement for being a biological male to be able to compete in women's sports. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a biologist to know that with a year of testosterone suppressants, you're still going to have advantages. If you are a boy in your early 20s, late teens who has gone through puberty, who has been training and competing with males, you're still going to have advantages over females, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this individual break female records and beat females at an alarming amount of time. 38 seconds is basically like a continent. and I watched one of the meets. That sounds weird. I watched one of the competitions myself, and it was insane to actually see it in real time. And when Leah won, no one cheered. When the biological woman got in second place, everyone cheered. You could feel that the audience knew that this was wrong. So the parents have gotten together and written a letter to the NCAA. They've gotten no response. The administrators are not backing any of the girls. So one of them said to a publication that basically all the girls on the team have gone to their coach individually, and the coach is basically saying there's nothing I can do. Leah is here to stay. So you basically just have to shut up and deal with it. So really, now, oh, and a swimming official has actually quit. Let me see if I can find her. Why can't anyone compete in the Special Olympics? Hello, hello. So there was a USA swimming official who actually resigned basically in protest, and she's been working in swimming for years. And what she's saying is that this is clearly unfair to women. And she said something really good. She said, gender identity does not swim against gender identity. Bodies swim against bodies. And she said, the fact is that swimming is a sport in which bodies compete against bodies. Identities do not compete against identities. Men are different from women. Men swimmers are different from women, and they will always be faster than women. In her resignation letter, Millen said that she felt the University of Pennsylvania transgender athlete Leah Thomas's record-setting dominance of collegiate women's swimming was grossly unfair, writing that she can no longer participate in a sport that allows biological men to compete against women. She said it's horrible. The statement for women, and this is really important too, and this has nothing to do, this is only about women's rights. It is not against anyone. However you want to live your life, but the difference is when your rights impede upon another person, and this is what's happening, and it's not fair. So she said this, and this is really sad, this is true. She said, the statement for women then is that you do not matter. What you do is not important, and little girls are going to be thrown under the bus by all of this. She said that this is going to destroy women's swimming. USA Swimming recognizes that boys swim differently than girls. She said all these women who worked so hard before Title IX when they didn't have the opportunities that men had, it would be such a shame, such a travesty to throw it all away now. This is what will happen. What was her name? Cynthia Millen was her name. Cynthia Millen stepped down last week after officiating USA Swimming meets for over 3 decades. Her decision came days before the U.S. Paralympic Swimming National Championship in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so the ones basically on the front line of this right now, in my opinion, are the girls that are on the swim team. And it's really sad. They don't have support from the NCAA. They don't have support from any of their school officials. And it sounds like they were talking about boycotting a meet, and this is what happened. So this just came out today in the New York Post, and it says a group of UPenn swimmers were so upset by athlete Leah Thomas's advantages that they muled over boycotting their final home meet, but decided not to for fear they would be banned from the Ivy League championships, according to a report. A source close to the team of 41 women considered the boycott told the Daily Mail that they have been ignored by both Penn State or UPenn and the NCAA. The source told the outlet that there is a feeling among some of the girls that they should make some sort of statement, seize the opportunity while they have the spotlight on them, and make their feelings about the issue known. But after considering boycotting their January 8th meet against Dartmouth, the swimmers decided against it out of concern that skipping the event would jeopardize their participation in the Ivy League Championship in February, according to the report. Knowing that they do not have the backing from the school or NCAA, they're reluctant to jeopardize their opportunity to make the elite Ivy League squad. Other sources told Daily Mail that the controversy would likely take center stage at the January 8th event, which is traditionally a time for seniors to enjoy the limelight. So I guess they didn't want to take the limelight away from the seniors. It's a very emotional day, and it's supposed to be a wonderful recognition of all the seniors what all the seniors have accomplished over the years. These are girls who are still determined to make sure that they get proper recognition and that their moment is celebrated as it should be. A parent of one of the swimmers suggested protesting in other ways. If it were me, I'd step up with a sign on my chest stating something like, NCAA, speak up, we need answers. So the NCAA has been silent throughout all of this, and they're the ones that have created this rule. So there you have it. Yes, senior days are very emotional. So there you have it. They talked about doing something. These women also have to shower. Yeah. You know, it's crazy. I saw a picture earlier today that was going around on Twitter, and it was of the team. It looks like they took a trip to the beach together, and they were all posing together and smiling, and it's odd because a lot of the girls on the team are uncomfortable, and everyone's in this picture just smiling, and I don't know what to say. It's tough, and I understand it's very nuanced, and they have a lot to lose, but what do you do? Do you take it? Do you stand up? That's really tough, but this is where we are. And it's sad because in a lot of these situations, people will know something is wrong. And a lot of these administrators, they know that this is wrong. A lot of the people working at these meets, they know it's wrong. There's so many people that know it's wrong. Oh, there was a Rasmussen report that actually came out. I don't know if it came out today or earlier this week. There is a Rasmussen report that came out. 75% of people think that there are only two genders. Now, that's not to say if you want to dress however you dress, get whatever surgery you want to have or whatever, I totally support that. It is your business. I don't care. Live your best life. The issue is when it impedes on other people's rights, and it's impeding on women's spaces and places that are carved out for women. And the reason these places are carved out for women are because there are differences in our biology. And, go by whatever you want to go by, wear whatever you want to wear, get whatever surgery you want. I would never advocate for discriminating against anyone. I don't do that at all. But this is a discrimination on women, and that's what the problem is. I'm going to share this Rasmussen report with you. Because this is what's really, really sad about this, is because everybody's quiet, everyone keeps their mouth shut, but the majority of Americans know that this is wrong. The majority of people know this is wrong. And it's scary to come forward, but more people have your back than what you think. So the latest Rasmussen report, this came out 3 days ago. The latest Rasmussen report's national telephone and online survey finds that 75% of American adults agree that there are only two genders, male and female. That includes 63% who strongly agree and 18% who strongly agree. 18% disagree. So this just goes to show that most people agree. And even if this is a little bit slanted, most people agree. Most people think that this is wrong, but everyone is afraid to stand up and say something because of that 18% or that 15% or whatever percentage you think it is. And it's so sad because everyone is going around, people are being discriminated against, these women are being discriminated against. And 18% is still high of a percentage. Bluebirds are not eagle. Are you guys still talking about birds? They didn't ask me who did the study. I don't know. You know what's really interesting? More men, 68% of men, than women, 56%, say they strongly agree that there are only two genders. And that's not saying that you can't, go and dress or do whatever you want. But you can't ignore truth. And you're asking everyone to ignore truth. Men equals logic. Ben Shapiro's takes on this are actually really funny. Oh, we've been on here for 60. So that's what's going on. Will I was thinking they should boycott and they just shouldn't swim in it. But I guess, did you see that truck driver's sentence was reduced to 10 years? Oh, yes, that was actually really good. So there was this truck driver in Colorado that had faulty brakes. And because of that, he got into an accident and there was, how many fatalities? I don't know if there was one or two fatalities, but there was at least one fatality. And they gave him 100 years. And you have to understand, this was faulty brakes. So, 4 fatalities. Oh my goodness. So there were 4 fatalities and this was because of faulty brakes. So all of these truck drivers protested. Actually, I understand why you brought that up now. All of the truck drivers protested and they say, we're not delivering to Colorado because this is wrong. He shouldn't have had 100 years. These were faulty brakes. It's unfortunate, but this was not his fault. And they were saying, what if this happens to us? What if we get a truck that has faulty brakes and it causes an accident? And that's, we don't feel comfortable doing that. So the state actually reduced the sentence to 10 years. So things do work, and it's scary, but sometimes when you take the plunge, when you do it, it works. And it's tough, man. That's a tough spot for these girls to have all of this on the line, all of this that they worked for, but in a way, it's already getting taken away from them, if you think about it. And it's going to be taken away from other girls in the future. And if everyone on the team agreed, I mean, one girl said that every girl on the team at one point had gone to the coach and talked about this. So if that's the whole team, they can't punish the entire team. Typically when they say boycott, they're looking to swim in it. Okay, I have to tell you. So I'm going to be interested to see if anything will happen on this January 8th meet. But what really bothers me is the NCAA. They have not, if they really believe in this, if they really believe this is the right thing, they have not come out and said anything. And this is all being caused because of their rule. Oh, this is what's happening in NASCAR. Okay, so Brandon, I'll say this real quick and then I'll get off here in just a minute. I'm going to go live probably early tomorrow night for anyone that's not going out and doing anything crazy for New Year's. And it'll be a fun live. I'll pick out some fun topics and I'll announce the time during the day. So check my community tab tomorrow. I'll have my time up by 2 p.m. I'll have the time up. So check it by 2 p.m. if you want to join the live tomorrow. It'll be earlier in the night because I know a lot of people are going out. I'm not, but... so check it at 2 p.m. Okay, so the race car driver, the NASCAR driver, Brandon Brown, he is the one that was in the middle of this whole slogan, "Let's go, Brandon," right? So he was being interviewed by a reporter from ABC, I believe it was ABC, and that was when the crowd behind him was chanting "F Joe Biden." And the reporter was like, "Oh, they're chanting, 'Let's go, Brandon.'" And that's how the whole "Let's go, Brandon" thing started. Well, he has had a really tough time getting sponsorship since his controversy, and he actually separated it himself from it at the beginning. He said, "Look, I think it's funny, but I'm not a political guy. I don't get involved in politics, but whatever." Like, I thought he did it in a really classy way. But still, like, a lot of people are associating him with the chant. So he's had a really hard time finding sponsors. Well, the cryptocurrency, the "Let's Go Brandon" coin, the cryptocurrency, and by the way, a lot of the revenue that they have with this cryptocurrency is actually going to veterans and first responders. So not only is it a cryptocurrency, but you're helping veterans and first responders. Yeah, he either lost sponsors and then had trouble getting new ones. So he got the "Let's Go Brandon" coin decided to sponsor him, and they announced today. They showed his new car that says "LGB, Let's Go Brandon," and they made this big announcement, and it was really cool. And then NASCAR actually came out and said, "Whoa, they jumped the gun. They announced this prematurely. No, don't get excited yet." They said, "Whoa, they jumped the gun. They announced this prematurely. We have not approved this yet." So NASCAR has come out and said that this is not approved yet. So we'll see what happens with that, if he's allowed to use this sponsor or not. I think they should let him. It's not his fault that he got in the middle of this controversy, and I think this is a really funny way that he can keep going. Also, I'm pretty sure a lot of NASCAR fans are conservative or Republican, so I don't think the fans are going to have an issue with this. But remember, NASCAR also tried to distance themselves from the whole "Let's Go Brandon" thing, so I could see where they wouldn't like this. But we'll see. It hasn't necessarily not been approved. It just hasn't been approved yet. So that's interesting. This is very disappointing that they are misreading their audience that badly. It is very disappointing that they're misreading their audience. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he gets to keep the sponsorship, but it almost doesn't seem like a good sign that NASCAR felt like they had to come out and announce that they haven't approved this yet. So there's that. That was just a quick tidbit of information. Yeah, so it says, "Update late." This is according to motorsports.com. Hey, what did you do to me? Now I can't read it to you. But they said, "Update this, Brandon and his team basically jumped the gun, and this has not been approved yet." NASCAR probably got a phone call. Yeah, because why wouldn't you? What would be the trouble with approving a sponsor? That's what I don't understand. And maybe that's why they felt like they could go ahead and announce this. What would be, and this would look really bad on them too, because this is a company that helps out veterans. Alienate your base. It will be blowback hard against NASCAR. I think it will. And that's what makes me, after Clavin, I started watching it. Oh, thanks. I love Andrew Clavin, and I met him in person once, and it was actually really cool how I met him. I met Andrew Clavin and Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire, and this was when I was living in West Hollywood. Gosh, this was like a while ago. Maybe like, I don't know. This was definitely a few years ago. I was still waiting tables. I was working in this cigar lounge, and I have to understand, this is West Hollywood. And typically, like when you see a celebrity or like someone, it's weird calling them celebrities because they're like commentators to me, but I guess I don't know. But when you see someone famous or someone you recognize from someone or somewhere, you never approach them. You do not do that in Hollywood. Um, but it's different among conservatives, I think, because it is Hollywood and you're like, oh, you're one too. That's really exciting. Anyway, they came in. It was Andrew Klavan and Michael Knowles. They came in to have a cigar and like a whiskey, and they were just enjoying their cigars and drinking whiskey. And I didn't know who Michael was so much at the time, but I knew who Andrew Klavan was. I looked at him. I took their order and then I looked at him and I said, "What's your name?" And he was like, "It's Andrew Klavan." I was like, "I know who you are." And we actually had a really fun little like conversation. They were very nice. NASCAR is still pushing the fake Bubba Smollett story with their fake documentary Fist of Steel. I know. I mean, it's just, yeah, you're right. They don't understand their base. So we'll see what happens with that. If they were smart, they would just let him keep it. Let him keep his sponsor. And what's really unfair is that he really didn't ask to be in the middle of all this. I mean, he really didn't. Who knows? Maybe he's a liberal for all I know, but he did not ask to be in the middle of all this. And then he couldn't find a sponsor because of that. I mean, that's not right. And what cowards are those companies that wouldn't sponsor him just because of that? Michael Knowles is great with history and taking on the left. He has a really good book about speech too. I really like it. I can't remember what it's called. It's on my Audible. Anyway, you all, I think I'm gonna go. I hope you all have a great evening. Michael Knowles plays the ukulele too. Fun fact. Speechless, this. Okay, if you want a really good book, Speechless is a really good book by Michael Knowles. Michael Knowles knows. All right, bye you all. I hope you have a really great night. Just sue the poor girl that started it. Thank you guys. All right, I'll see you all later. Have a good night. Bye. Knowles recorded the national anthem on uke. Did he really? I'll have to watch that. Bye, Sarah. Okay, bye, you guys. I just said bye to myself.